Hey everyone, welcome to the video. This is going to go over the Supermarket Heroes 500 at Bristol Motor Speedway on Sunday, May 31st at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And let me just start this video off by saying I am very excited for Bristol. Not only is it one of my favorite tracks from a fan point of view, but it's also really fun for DFS purposes as well, and it's one I've had a lot of success at recently too. So really looking forward to it. I'm sure you guys are as well. And I did check the weather forecast for this weekend, and it looks like it's going to be sunny with no rain threats. So that's just amazing in its own. So I'm very excited. Hopefully it's going to be a good weekend. But before we continue, as always, if you guys could just leave a like. And if you're new to the channel, you might as well hit that subscribe button, because I'm going to be here all season long trying to help you guys become better NASCAR DFS players. And I also do other sports as well whenever they decide to return. So if you're going to be sticking around all season long, you might as well hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out whenever I post any new content. And if you want to follow me over on Twitter, I'm at ChrisPennell16. I'll try to retweet and tweet out as much important information that I can. Or if you just want to hit me up on there, you can feel free to do that as well. You can follow me on IG at CPenn16. And if you want to support over on Patreon, that's always much appreciated. We're at pretty much about 200 patrons right now, so that's absolutely amazing. I do appreciate everyone that does support my content over there. Put a lot of extra work into it just throughout the week and over the weekend. So I do appreciate everyone that does support me over on there. So if you do want to, you hit that link in the description below, and it'll take you to a page that looks like this. So if you hit that link, it's going to take you to my Join Patreon page, and it just tells you pretty much everything you get access to. You get access to my entire NASCAR model, my cheat sheet, my data sheet, which I do preview for you guys on YouTube. You just don't see everything. And then my Discord chat, where you can ask me all the questions you want throughout the day, or you can just come in and hang out. It's a pretty chill environment. No one's going to make fun of you or anything. And you also get access to my projections, my core plays, my weekly article that breaks down everything you need to know. My tier rankings, my GPP exposures, and my power rankings. So if you want access to all that, you hit the link in the description below if you do want to support me. I really do appreciate it. But without further ado, that's enough plugging. Let's get into the preview portion of this video. Oh, and by the way, before I go any farther, live stream on Sunday at 11 a.m. I might change that, maybe just an hour or so, but I think it's going to be at 11 a.m. That gives us about 4.5 hours before lock, so that should be enough time for the video to upload for people that want to watch it on playback. So plan for Sunday at 11 a.m. So be there if you want to come hang out and ask me all the questions you want. Anyway, let's preview this. This is the Supermarket Heroes 500 at Bristol Motor Speedway. It is a short, steep oval. It's a very short track. It's only about a half mile in length. And we're going to get 500 laps, guys. 500. If you thought the Coke 600 had a lot of laps at 400, we'll add 100 more onto that. We have 375 Dominator points available, which means Dominators are going to be extremely, extremely important this week. I mean, you can nail your place differential guys as much as you want, but if you guys don't get Dominators in your lineups, you're pretty much guaranteed to not cash. I mean, if just looking at past optimal lineups in previous few years, there's 2 to 4 Dominators in every single lineup. Now, I'm not saying you can fit 4 10K and above guys. That's when there's 4 Dominators in a lineup, it's mostly due to guys in the 7K or 8K range getting up front and leading some laps. But you're going to want 2 to 4 Dominators in every single lineup, and that's pretty much how every optimal has looked in recent years, and I don't see why that would change. We have the same amount of laps. I know there's no practice or anything, but I mean, we have a lot of laps. You guys want Dominators. That's the most important thing heading into the week. So we got to get guys that can dominate this race. And that's pretty much it for the preview. Let's go driver by driver now, which I know is everyone's favorite part. And remember, guys, this is my first time going through the entire slate, so you get my more polished thoughts on Patreon. So we're going through this together for the first time, me and you. So let's just see what we get. We're going to do our first reactions to pricing, where these guys qualified, and then we're going to look at their histories, and I'll give my brief opinions on them. So pricing's a little, I wouldn't say a little tricky. It's actually pretty solid this week, I gotta say. I think everything's fairly priced. They priced up the guy starting in the back a little bit, but not like, they didn't go overkill. Like Jimmy Johnson starting 24th is not 12K. I mean, I know he started 40th and he was 12K, but 10K is not too bad. Boyer at 9,800 is not too bad. So I think the pricing's fair this week. I don't think it's too bad. So I'm looking forward to it. Should be able to build some pretty good lineups, looking at some decent cheap options, good mid-range options, and good expensive options. So I actually think roster construction should be looking pretty good this week. So I'm looking forward to it. But anyway, up top, we have Kyle Busch at 12,500. You guys know what I mean by qualified. It was a random draw based on owner's points, but I'm going to keep saying qualified, but you guys know what I mean. So he qualified 7th, And this has pretty much been his track. He is by far the best driver here. If you just look at the numbers, the past 6 races at Bristol, he's averaging 77.1 Draftkings points per race, and second best would be Joey Logano at 62, so that's about a 15-point difference. So this has been Kyle Busch's track. He has an average finish of 10.3, average running position of 10.5, best driver rating of 106.6, 3 wins out of the past 6 races, 4 top 5s, averaging the most laps led per race. Oh, actually behind Ryan Blaney, 62.3, but averaging the most fast laps per race at 47.7. Now, for track type form, there's really not a track that compares to Bristol very well. I would say Dover's probably the closest comparison, but even then it's really not that great of a comparison. They're both steep tracks, but it's a little bit different. So I pretty much just, for the track type form, I extended it to 10 races. I mean, I didn't know really what else to compare it to, so all I did was add extra 4 races onto the track type form. So really not going to talk too much about track type form this week because it's a very unique track, Bristol is, so I don't really think it would be fair to compare it to tracks like Darlington or Homestead or Dover that are both, they're all steep tracks, but they don't really compare to Bristol that well. So kind of ignoring this category a little bit, but this just goes even further into their averages if you compare it. And so we're going to skip that, but let's talk about momentum first. So I like Kyle Busch, but the problem is he is super expensive. There's not as much PD upside, and the guy is yet to lead a lap this season. How crazy does that sound? Kyle Busch has not led a lap this season. We're used to Kyle Busch just coming out and dominating every single race, and that's just not been the case. Toyota is way behind Chevy, and they're way behind Fords right now. I mean, I know Hamlin and Truex have had their races so far this season, but just in general, I mean, Chevys are much faster, Fords are right behind them, and then Toyotas, they're third, and it's by a good margin. They're just not that fast this season. And if you're looking at Kyle Busch's numbers, they're honestly not all that impressive so far. He's averaging 34 Draftkings points per race. Now, I know last race kind of murdered him where he got a tire and just finished in, like late 20s or in the 30s. He had a trash race because he got killed early. I mean, he's had some good finishes. He has 3 top 5s the past, I believe we're using the past 5 races, so I should probably update that. Let me just delete this because I wanted to extend it to only about 5 or 6 races because we're pretty far away from a few first races in the season. But anyway, yeah, it's not been too pretty for Kyle Busch. Now, we just have 3 top 5s, but we need Kyle Busch to do more than just get a top 5 at his price tag. Like, yeah, it's great that he's getting some top 5s, but if you're not dominating at a $12K price tag, you're just wasting our money and wasting a roster spot in our lineup. And like I said, it's a big blaring 0 here for the average laps led. He's got 0 average laps led this season so far. That's not what we're used to with Kyle Busch. And only averaging 6.2 fast laps this season per race. It's what's the word? It's concerning. It is. But this is one of his best tracks. Would it surprise me if this is where he gets it going? It wouldn't. I just hate the price tag, and there's some guys I like cheaper that I think might have a better chance of dominating this race, and we get to save about $2,000 and even more. So I don't like the price tag with Kyle Busch. I love the history. I trust him to have a good race, but if he doesn't get up front at this price tag, he's not going to make the optimal. I don't care if he finishes second. If he doesn't lead any laps, not going to be in the optimal, but there's definitely a chance that he can lead laps and dominate. We have 500 laps, guys, so I mean, if he gets up front, leads 150 to 200 laps and stays in the top 5, yeah, there's a pretty good chance he'll make the optimal. So you definitely want exposure to Kyle Busch. I just don't like the price tag, but there are some cheap options we can use to fit him in our lineups. Right below him, we have Kevin Harvick at 12,200, and he qualified 8th. Now, this has been a pretty solid track for him. Hasn't led as much laps as I'd like to see, but still nonetheless, it's been fine. He's averaging 55.2 Draftkings points per race, average finish of 13.3. Did wreck out of one race, so it's going to hurt his averages a little bit, but still solid numbers nonetheless. Problem is only 1 top 5 out of the past 6 races. A little concerning, but 3 top 10s, 5 top 15s, averaging the second most fast laps per race at 36.5, and fast laps are worth more than laps led, so we'll give him that, but only averaging 8.3 laps led per race the past 6 races, which isn't all that great. But if you're looking at the past 10 races, 3 top 5s, 6 top 10s, averaging 37.5 laps led per race, the most fast laps at 48.3. It's a solid track for him. We know how good Harvick has been this season. His car was insanely fast on Thursday. almost said Wednesday, but then the rain postponed it to Thursday. But last night, his car was extremely fast on short runs, but it died out at the very end of the race. I mean, he led a lot of laps. He looked super fast, but the end of the race, he went from first to, did he finish 10th? I mean, he just felt like an absolute rock. Even Truex passed him at the end, and Truex was having one of the worst races I've ever seen him have. He was 17th in green flag speed on Thursday. I mean, he was just super slow, and he even passed Harvick at the end. So, yeah, that car was really good on short runs, died out in the long runs, and if you're at Bristol, I want some long run speed because we got 500 laps. But I still think Harvick's going to be fine. He has been great this season. He's averaging 81.5 DraftKings points per race, which is by far the best out of anyone here. I think second best is Keselowski at 59.1. So there's a big difference between first and second here in terms of average DraftKings points scored per race so far this season. Average finish of 4.4. And again, I think I'm using the past 5 races, past 5 to 6. I just wanted to make the sample size a little bit smaller. But you guys know what I mean. Average rank position of 6.8, average driver rating 117.2, 1 win, 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s, averaging the most laps led per race at 59.8, averaging 35 fast laps per race. He's even averaging 8.8 place differential spots, which I believe is best out of all drivers. So yeah, Harvick, there's nothing bad I can say about him. I don't like the price tag, but I mean, I'm not going to like the price tag for everybody, but there's definitely a chance he can get up front. He's had a fast car all season. I mean, the only concerns would be there's some pretty good cars in front of him. You got Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski's in the pool, Ryan Blaney's in front of him. So the path to dominating's not that easy for Kevin Harvick, but I mean, he was super, super fast on Thursday. Let's just hope they can get that long run speed fixed. But you're going to want some Kevin Harvick exposure. Probably not going to go too overboard, but definitely someone that has potential for leading laps. And at Bristol, we need guys that can lead laps. So no one's done that better than Kevin Harvick so far this season, really, for the most part. Bowman's been up there, but I don't mind Kevin Harvick. Just don't like those price tags. Denny Hamlin, he comes in at 11,600. He started 29th on Thursday, finished second. But he surprisingly didn't make the optimal. He made second place, but did not make the optimal. But starting 10th, this is a really good track for him. He's about 900 cheaper than Kyle Busch, and it's been a good track. He's got the best average finish outside of Matt Kenseth, which I'm really not going to count because kind of got to throw his numbers out the window. So Denny Hamlin, very good track for him. Average rank position of 10.3, 3 top 5s the past 6 races, does have a win. He's got 6 top 15, so it's 100% success rate. I mean, we need way more than a top 15 from Denny Hamlin to be optimal at this price tag, but it's been pretty good track for him. Knows how to get up front lead laps as well. And if you're looking at the track type form, if you extend that to 10 races, all these numbers are strong as well. I'm not just going to read them all, but 5 top 5s out of the past 10 races here. So it's been a really good track for him. And like I said, though, Toyotas have been very slow this season, but he's had his races where he's done well. I mean, he's got, 2 wins so far this season. He won Daytona, and then he won the rain-shortened, a couple races ago. So, yeah, I think he's going to be fine. It's just starting 10th. There's a lot of good cars in front of him, and if he doesn't dominate at this price tag, I just don't see how he's going to make the optimal at that price. I mean, he started 29th and finished second, still didn't make the optimal with a 208-lap race. So if you're not going to lead laps at Bristol at this price tag, you are not more than likely going to make the optimal unless you were starting 40th. So if you're playing Hamlin, you're expecting him to get up front, but he can certainly do that. I mean, like I said, he's got to win the season. Then if you throw in Daytona, he's got 2 wins. He's got 3 top 5s. So, yeah, I got nothing wrong with Hamlin. Going to sprinkle him in. Not someone I'm overly confident about at this price tag. There is guys that are cheaper that are below. Yeah, guys that are cheaper below him that I do like more, that I think might have a better chance of dominating, but I'll probably sprinkle in some Hamlin. But Chase Elliott, 11,300. He finally got that win last night. And, everyone loves Chase Elliott, so I'm sure everyone was excited. Past Harvick there, and then Harvick sort of dropped him like a rock. But Chase Elliott's just been so fast this season. He's had the fastest average green flag speed if you just take into account all the races, and he's got the best average green flag speed by quite a big margin. He's just been so fast this season. Hendrick Motorsports has been on a whole nother level. That Chevy body is just insanely fast. I mean, they got the package down. They've just been so fast this season, and I don't see why that speed would go away. And he's been stuck in that low 10K, high 9K range, and they finally priced him up to 11,300. But to be honest, this is a fair price tag for Chase. I mean, he's had the best car this season. He's been the fastest. Chevy's just been super fast. Hendrick's been super fast. There's nothing bad you can say about Chase Elliott. He's just been so good this season. This has also been a pretty good track for him. Now, he's only averaging 43.1 DraftKings points per race here, which isn't as good as anybody else in this tier, but I mean, I'm kind of relying more on this season how fast cars have been. I don't see why their speed would go away. So Chase Elliott, I like him a lot. Average running position of 10.8 here. 2 top fives, averaging 30.8 laps led per race, which I believe is in the top 5. I mean, there's just nothing bad I can say about Chase Elliott. The guy's just been so fast. And if we just look at the momentum, like, he's just been so good. Average running position of 7.8, which is second best. Finally got that win last night. 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s the past 5 races. He's just been super good. Averaging nearly 60 DraftKings points per race, which is third best. Averaging 37.4 average laps led, 29.2 fast laps. He's just been so good this season. I don't see why that would change. So Chase Elliott's probably one of my top dominator plays of the entire week heading into Sunday. So definitely want some Chase Elliott exposure. Price tag's a little much, but I think it's fair for how good he's been. Joey Logano, he comes in at 10,700, and I have a lot of interest in Joey Logano. He did really good last race. He actually ended up getting into the optimal. I was very low on Joey Logano. I didn't think he was going to get up front lead laps at any point of that race. He proved me wrong, and he's just been having a really good season. And like I said, Bristol is a very good track for Joey Logano, and he's starting third, so there's a good chance he can get up front early and lead laps. Problem is, he's got Brad Keselowski, his teammate, right in front of him, so we'll see how that goes. But I think those two are going to battle it out early because Almirola's on the front row with Keselowski. I don't think Almirola's going to give him any competition, really. So I think it's going to be either Brad or Joey Logano or even Ryan Blaney. All 3 Penske cars are showing in the top 4, so it's going to be interesting to see how they go. I mean, they're going to be 1, 2, 3 more than likely first few laps, so we'll just see who gets up front. But yeah, I like Logano a lot, averaging 62.5 DraftKings points per race, which is second best here. Average finish of 8.3, average running position of 8.8, which is best of all drivers. 3 top 5s. I mean, he's just been really good, averaging the third most laps led per race at 52.3. He was in the optimal a couple years ago when I had him. Took down a tournament with Joey, so got a soft spot in my heart for Joey at this track. So yeah, I think he's an excellent play. He's always been good at Bristol. I mean, momentum so far this season, can't knock on pretty much anything. Average finish of 9, third only to Logano and Kurt Busch. Which Kurt Busch, he's been having a pretty good season. It's a little surprising. He's at 7.4, but he's been doing pretty good. He does have a win, 2 top 5s. Just nothing bad I can say about Logano. He's been getting up front, leading laps. So Joey Logano, one of my favorite dominator plays heading into Sunday. Jimmy Johnson, he's at 10,200. I played 0 Jimmy Johnson on Thursday. He did not make the optimal, so I'll call that a small success. But starting 24th, it's not too bad. I don't really think he's going to get up front lead laps, which is pretty much what you want at Bristol at this price tag, but it's fine. He does have a win here the past 6 races, so it's not like he can't get up front. I just don't think it's the most likely scenario. I wish he was like in that 9K range. I'd have a little bit more interest, but it's tough. I'd rather play Logano starting third because I think he's got a better chance of dominating by a wide margin, but Johnson's fine. You can sprinkle him in. It's been a good track. I mean, Jimmy Johnson's really good at Bristol. He's averaging 55.5 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 8.8, running position of 11, drive rating's good at 95.6, 5 top 15, 6 top 20s. He's a lock to get positive PD, which obviously, but you're going to need a little bit more than just a top 20 out of Johnson at 10,200. If he can crack the top 10, top 5, throw in some fast laps, if he gets up front, he'd be a pretty good play. So I got nothing wrong with Jimmy Johnson. We know how fast Chevys have been this season. Hendrick Motorsports has been on a whole nother level. So if you want to play some Jimmy Johnson, I don't hate it. But if you're playing Johnson starting 24th, you got to pair him with a guy like Logano or Keselowski up front to get those early dominator points. And then maybe you're just hoping Jimmy Johnson just comes through the field and possibly gets up front. So yeah, nothing wrong with Jimmy Johnson. Clint Bowyer at 9,800. So I know it's a little expensive for Clint Bowyer at nearly 10K, but this is a really good track for him. I was hoping he'd come in around the 8K price range, but I guess that was just asking for a little bit too much. But 9,800, I don't hate it. This is a very, very good track for Clint Bowyer. I mean, he just crushes Bristol. He actually ranks in my top 5 at Bristol. So I do have interest, even though he's pretty expensive. But he has the potential to get up front starting 23rd, as crazy as that sounds. He's averaging 55 DraftKings points per race here, average finish of 8.2, which is really, really good. That's better than Logano. It's almost as good as Hamlin. It's almost as good as Kurt Busch. It's better than Kurt Busch. It's better than Alex Bowman. So everything checks out for Clint Bowyer. I mean, he's just really, really good here. He's got 5 top 10s the past 6 races here. I mean, there's a really good odds for him to get into the top 10. He's averaging 24 laps led per race, 17.5 fast laps, so we can get some dominator points thrown in there as well. So I do like Clint Bowyer. This is one of his best tracks in the entire series, so I have a lot of interest. He's got 7 top 10s here the past 10 races. That's a 70% success rate, and he's been fast this season. He hasn't been having the best of luck, but I mean, starting at 23rd, 9,800. I think Clint Boyer is a really strong play and someone I certainly have interest, even though he's a little bit expensive. That might just keep people off of him. Martin Truex Jr., 9,400. I don't know if you guys saw that tweet I posted last night, but I edited his picture on a lawnmower because that guy was just so slow on Thursday. My goodness. I don't know. He was stuck in like 20th to 28th place for like ever. Then at the very end of the race, he finally was fast and got into the top 10, but he was so slow. He couldn't even pass Michael McDowell, Nemechek, and Ryan Preece at one point. Like, he was just absolute junk. I don't know what car he was in. But my gosh, he just could not do anything. And he was 17th in green flag speed. 17th. That's worse than Corey LaJoie. Corey LaJoie was 16th. That's pretty bad, but he's cheap at 9,400. I just don't have a lot of interest in Truex. This is not really his type of track. He's only averaging 41.4 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 20. Has no top 5s for the past 6 races. Only one top 10, 2 top 15s. That's not really his track. So I don't really have that much interest in Martin Truex. I mean, he has led laps here before, averaging 34.2 fast laps per race, averaging 28 laps led per race, which is, again, that's not bad at all, but this has just not been a good track for Truex. So I don't really have that much interest. I'd rather play Logano. I'd rather play Elliott. I know they're more expensive, but I'd rather play Boyer, probably. Rather play Keselowski by far. Bowman's a good play. Blaney's a good play. Kurt Busch. So I don't really have that much interest in Truex. So I don't really think he's going to be popular either, especially from what he did last race for the most part. I know he cracked the top 10, but still it's disappointing. So I'm not that interested in Truex. Could he get up front lead laps? He could. If you want to sprinkle Truex in, just so you have exposure to everyone up front in case someone gets up front, leads 100 laps, you don't want to be screwed. So you can sprinkle Truex in, but if I'm making one lineup, he wouldn't make it. So not too high on Truex, despite how good he is just in general, but this is not really his type of track. Brad Keselowski, he's 9,100 on the pool. I think that's just simply mispriced. Now, if you're looking at the numbers, it's not going to be his greatest track. He did run into trouble one race, but still, numbers overall are not that great. He only has one top 5 the past 6 races here, only one top 10, one top 15. It's not been the best track for Keselowski, but you're on the pole, which means he's the most likely to lead laps early, and there's a lot of laps, guys. There's 500 laps. If he can lead 100 laps early, it just finished on the top 10 at this price tag. I mean, he should be around 10K. I mean, if he leads 100 laps, we're going to be looking pretty good. So you got to have interest in Keselowski. I expect him to be very high owned because if you're starting on the pool at Bristol at 9,100 with like a guy like Keselowski, it's not like it's Almirola starting on the pool. It's a guy like Keselowski. I mean, the guy knows how to get up front and lead laps. So there's no concern about that, but I think he's a fine play at 9,100. I expect him to be popular. He's got an easy path to dominating starting up front. He's got teammates behind him in Logano and Ryan Blaney, so maybe they just play nice and let Brad lead early. Not sure if that's going to actually happen, but there's a scenario where that happens. So, yeah, I like Keselowski a lot. I mean, if you want to stack Team Penske this week, Blaney's at 8,600, Kess is at 9,100, Logano's at 10,700. They could all lead laps, and they're all good here. So, well, Keselowski's not the greatest here if you just look at the numbers, but he knows how to lead laps here. So they're all pretty solid. So if you want to stack Team Penske, totally get it. But yeah, like the price on Kess, like the starting spot. Path to dominating is pretty easy. So you should certainly have interest. And if you look at the momentum this season, Keselowski's been having a great year. Averaging 60 DraftKings points per race. Average finish of 7.2. Running position of 10.3. Has a win. 2 top 5s. 5 top 15. Yeah, obviously he's going to have to get a top 15 where he's starting. But I think he can dominate. He's averaging 38 laps led per race. He's had a good car this season, one of the top ranks in my momentum page rankings, whatever I do. So yeah, Keselowski, pretty good play, fair price, should be around 10K at least, and he's on the pool, a lot of laps, so definitely like Kess. I expect him to be pretty popular. Alex Bowman, 8,800, price came up 100 from last night, and let me tell you, he killed pretty much all my lineups and everyone that watches my videos lineups because I was super high on Bowman. And we were all partying early on. He was crushing. He was going to be in the optimal. He was 8,700. He led around 60 laps. Yeah, he got passed by Harvick, but he was hanging in the top 5, so it was looking like it was going to be good to go for Bowman to hit the optimal. And then running second, he slaps the wall, and he has to pit, no caution. Screwed his race, screwed our lineups. It sucked. It sucked really bad. It was looking like an awesome play at 8,700. And I think he ended up scoring 10 points, something like that, so that sucked. But at 8,800 starting 11th, let's go back to the Bowman. Well, why not? I mean, the track's not been insane for him. He hasn't gotten up front led laps and averaging 0 laps led per race. But this season is which I'm kind of banking on the most here. He's been so good. Him, Chase Elliott, they've just been two of the best cars. You can throw in Kevin Harvick as well. Joey Logano's been great, but I mean, it's pretty much just been the Bowman and Chase Elliott show. So I'm going to have interest. He's a little bit too cheap. He's got some PD upside as well. Average finish of 12.8 is not too bad. Running position of 15.4 is a little worse, but still, again, not that terrible. He's got a top 5, 2 top 10s out of the past 4 races. So, I mean, his numbers are pretty solid. He just hasn't really led laps here yet. But, I mean, as good as he's looked this season, would it surprise anybody? He's been in an absolute rocket. He's second in average green flag speed. You got to have some interest in Alex Bowman. And if you look at his momentum this season, he's been great. Now, his average finish is going to suck a little bit now, considering what happened last race, and then the one race where he faded to 20th. But if you look at his average running position, I think that paints a much better picture of 8.1. That's only behind guys like Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, and Joey Logano. He's been top tier this season, has a win under his belt, averaging 45 DraftKings points per race, which, again, if he didn't slap the wall last race, it would look a lot better. And when I say this season, I mean the past 5 races. It's hard for me to switch that from my vocabulary because it's been this season, but this is the past 5 races. So, I mean, Bowman's been having a great season, averaging 51.2 laps led per race, which is second most. Fast laps, he's got third most. So, yeah, Bowman, I think he's a fine play. He's mispriced, and he's one of those guys in the mid-tier that have a chance of dominating, and that's what we need at Bristol. 2 to 4 dominators per lineup. I mean, there's actually 3 guys in this 8K tier that have the potential to get a front lead lap. So, you can probably easily fit 2 to 4 dominators in your lineup this weekend. So, speaking of guys that can dominate, Ryan Blaney, 8,600 starting 4th. He's just too cheap. I think DraftKings hates him or something. He was 8,100 the one week, then he was 7,900 last night, and he crushed again. He crushed the past 2 weeks, and now he's only 8,600, and this is a very good track for Ryan Blaney. So, I think he's mispriced. He's got a decent chance of getting up front leading laps starting 4th, so you got to have some interest in Ryan Blaney. Past 6 races here, he's averaging nearly 45 DraftKings points per race. Average running position of 9.7. Did run into trouble one race, so that's going to skew his average finish a little bit, but still, his numbers are very, very strong. Driver rating of near 100. Got top 5, 4 top 15s, averaging the most laps led per race here at 63.2. That's pretty good. The guy that averages the most laps led at Bristol is priced 8,600 the past 6 races, so I like my chances of him hitting value at 8,600. So, and he's with his Penske teammates up front, Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski. So I'm really liking Ryan Blaney. I think he's going to be a pretty solid play. If you're looking at his recent momentum, numbers are going to look not as great because he's just getting really unlucky this season. But 2 top 5s the past 2 races, if you want to shorten that even a little bit. He's been getting some fast laps. His cars look fast, and I like his chances of getting some dominator points starting at 8,600 starting 4th. I know he's not much room for PD upside, but I'm certainly going to have interest in Blaney. And I'm a big Blaney fan just in general, so might be a little bit biased, but I still think he's a pretty good play. Kurt Busch, he is starting 12th at 8,300. He's had a fast car all season. I was looking at average green flag speed. Kurt Busch is up there. He's been fast. Chevys have been fast. And this is a really, really good track for Kurt Busch. I mean, if you're just looking at his numbers, I feel like he should be around 9K, if not a little bit more, because we got PD upside as well. So I think he's a little bit mispriced, and he's averaging 44 DraftKings points per race here. Average finish of 10. Does have a win. 3 top 5s. I mean, 50% of the time, the past 6 races, he's been in the top 5. 4 top 10s, has led some laps. So I think Kurt Busch is actually a pretty strong play. If you're looking at recent momentum, he's got an average finish of 7.4, which is actually a little shocking. I didn't expect it to be that high, so that's actually really, really good. Averaging 50 DraftKings points per race, 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s. Kurt Busch has been low-key balling. So I don't know if he's going to get that much ownership, but I think he's way too cheap. So Kurt Busch definitely on my radar. You got some PD upside with some slight dominator potential and race-winning upside. So yeah, I like Kurt Busch a lot. Matt Kenseth, he's starting 14th at 8,100. Look, his numbers are going to look really good the past 2 races here, but again, it's a whole different scenario. New team, new car, retired, and now he's back. But those 2 races were really good, though. Average finish of 4, 2 top 5s, but you kind of got to throw these numbers out the window. So let's just look at his momentum so far this season. It's not pretty. Averaging 13.8 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 22.5, average running position of 20.9, no top 5s, no top 10s, 1 top 15, obviously no laps led. So it's not been that great for Matt Kenseth. And if you're just going to give me Kurt Busch for 200 more, I trust Kurt Busch more. Tyler Reddick's starting 21st, 7,900. He's having a great season. I'd rather play Tyler Reddick. You could throw some Kenseth in there just because he knows the track well, but not something I'm too overly excited about. But I'll probably have some exposure. I think he's going to run better than his average running position of 20.9. I think that's kind of just lowballing it a little bit. I think he's got the potential for top 10, so he's more of a GPP play than cash for me. I'd rather play Kurt Busch or Reddick, but I think Kenseth's fine. I'm just not overly excited about it. Tyler Reddick, 7,900. I don't love playing rookies at Bristol, but he's kind of like, I'm not even sure if I should count him as a rookie. He's just been running so well this season, and starting 21st, the kid's got top 10 potential. He's just been running so well this season. Now, I don't have any Cup Series statistics for Tyler Reddick, so I'm not just going to, can't really show you any of this. So let's just look at his current momentum this season. He's got an average finish of 15.2, average running position of 13.7. I mean, that's extremely good, especially for this price tag, and really good for a rookie. 2 top 10s, 4 top 15s. I mean, I feel like it's pretty much a lock for him to get positive PD outside of a wreck. He's got legit top 10 upside. Starting 21st, I like Tyler Reddick. I feel like he should be around 8K, so I certainly have interest. I mean, I know rookies can be a little bit tough to trust, but I feel like you can trust Tyler Reddick. I think he should be in the 8K tier for sure. So, do you like the price we go with Reddick? Like the starting spot? Definitely have some interest. William Byron, he is starting 13th at 7,700, and then we just get a quick water break. All right, sorry I'm back, which wasn't really any break for you, just a break for me because it's going to cut immediately. But anyway, William Byron, he was, believe it or not, he was first in average green flag speed last night. I know kind of Corey LaJoie killed his day in the pits, but he was fast. He was very, very fast. So I wonder what his car would have done if he never got wrecked into. Probably would have had a pretty decent day, but yeah, 7,700 is not a bad price for him. Now, Bristol has not been too kind for him so far in his first 4 races here. Average running position of 17.7, average finish of nearly 20. No top 10s, no top 15s, 2 top 20s. This is not really William Byron's track. I will say Chevys have been just so fast this season. And I mean, the numbers are fine for him. He's got 3 top 15s, average running position of 14.9. But starting 13th, there's just not much upside. I'd rather play Bubba Wallace, to be honest. But, well, I don't know if I would. Well, yeah, I probably would. There's a lot more safety for Bubba Wallace. William Byron's got the higher finishing potential, but Bubba Wallace was like running really, really well on Thursday. I mean, I was glad he wrecked because I had like no Bubba Wallace because I thought he was overpriced, but he was running really well. He's pretty much just like running in the top 10 for a long time. So yeah, I'd probably rather go with Bubba Wallace over William Byron now that I think about it. He's a little bit cheaper. He's got an average finish of 22, which is only 3 spots farther back than William Byron. So I do think Bubba Wallace is the better play. I wish he wasn't priced up this high, but he was running really well. If he can get in the top 20, top 15 at starting 36 at 7,500, that's not too bad. So I actually think he's pretty solid. And at Bristol, average running position of 21.9. I mean, he could crack the top 20 in all honesty. He does have a top 15 here. 2 top 20s. It's not too bad for Bubba Wallace here. Current momentum this season. So past 5 races, it's going to look pretty bad because he killed his car the past 2 races, so his average finish is down to 26.4. But the average running position is 23.4, and if you put that throughout the entire season before he started getting into this bad luck of wrecks the past 2 races, it was about, I think it was around 20, and his average finish was at 17.9 if I remember correctly. So Wallace is having a pretty good season. So at 7,500, starting 36, a lot of room for improvement. I could see the potential for at least 15 place differential spots. So at 7,500, not too bad. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at 7,400. He had the race of his life almost last night. That was amazing. He was one of the faster cars on the track. I think he was 9th in green flag speed. And it was a good track for him. And look, I didn't want to trust Stenhouse. I really didn't play him, but I wish I did because he went absolutely off. He hit the optimal. He finished, I believe, inside the top 5. So, yeah, Stenhouse, he balled out. But starting 16th, it's a different story now. He started 24th last race. Now he's starting 16th. There's not much room for error, but this has been a decent track for Ricky Stenhouse. He's got an average running position of 18.4, which is not great, but does have a top 5, 2 top 10s, 3 top 15s. He can move up here 50% of the time. The past 6 races, he would have improved on his 16th starting spot. So I don't mind Stenhouse. He's actually averaging 16.5 fast laps per race here, which is decently high for a guy down here. So I don't mind Stenhouse. He's a GPP play because of where he's starting, but if he can crack the top 15, it's not terrible. But I'd much rather play Bell. I'd rather play Bubba Wallace. So he's the GPP option here, but it's not too bad. he's just a little bit risky. And if you look at his momentum this season, he's got an average running position of 24.7, average finish of 23.2. It's just not been that pretty for Stenhouse, but the last race, I will say, was pretty impressive from Ricky. Christopher Bell, he is starting 35th, and again, we have no Cup Series stats for Christopher Bell here, but he should be able to improve on this starting spot. If you look at his current momentum, the past 5 races, he's got an average running position of 17.6, average finish of 18, 2 top 15s. I think he's a pretty easy bet for positive PD starting 35th. I'd rather play him over Bubba Wallace because I think Christopher Bell's got a better chance of getting the top 15, top 10 than Bubba Wallace does. So I'd rather play Bell at a cheaper price point. I do expect Bell to be pretty popular. So yeah, I think he's a pretty excellent play. If you want to play him in cash, go for it. GPPs, that's fine too. He should be able to move up 15, even 20 spots, if not more. So like Christopher Bell, but it is tough to trust rookies at Bristol. Matt DiBenedetto, he is starting 9th. Now, I know you're probably thinking he's not that great of a play starting 9th, but this is actually a really good track for MDB. Average finish of 17, but the last year he had a just amazing race here. He actually almost won in it. I mean, he legit almost won the race. He's averaging 15.5 laps led per race, does have a top 5, which was last year, averaging 7.5 place differential spots. And again, he's in really good equipment now. He's in the 21 car, so I think he can finish inside the top 10. I don't really expect him to lead many laps, if any at all, but he's got an outside shot at it, and if he can hang in the top 10, which I think he's got the potential to do at 7,100, I don't think he's a bad play at all. So Matt DiBenedetto, better GPP play than cash, but I don't hate it at that price tag. He's got sneaky top 10 potential, and if you're looking at his momentum so far this season, he's got an average running position of 13.4, 3 top 15s, 1 top 10, average finish of 13.8. I don't mind MDB. It's not the worst play in the world. He's not really safe for cash, but in tournaments, if you want to sprinkle him in, I think that's fine. He almost won here last year, which is incredible. Eric Jones, he is starting 15th. This might be one of my favorite plays in the entire slate, guys. I know it didn't work out last night for Eric Jones, but he was having a solid race before that, but he pitted outside of his pit box, and that was a 1-lap penalty where he just had to get held for a lap, so that screwed his entire day right then and there. There was no chance of recovery at that point. But starting 15th at 7K, look, Eric Jones should probably be close to 9K at Bristol. Like, I'm not joking. Like, I don't get the price tag here. I think Draftkings probably overreacted a little bit from last night's fantasy points, whatever he scored. I don't even remember, but it was probably pretty ugly. But he is one of the best drivers here at Bristol in this entire field, and he's 7K. 7K. He's priced below Christopher Bell. He's priced below Stenhouse. He's priced below Bubba Wallace. Like, I don't get it. Like, I know he's starting 15th, but the guy could get a top 5 easily. So the past 6 races, he's averaging 47 DraftKings points per race here. Average finish of 16, but an average running position of 10, average driver rating of 94.1, which is by far the best out of anybody in this price range. 2 top 5s, 2 top 10s, averaging nearly 50 laps led per race, which I believe is 4th best in the entire field, averaging 25.7 fast laps per race. Eric Jones is an incredible play, in my opinion. If you take it even over to 10 races, his average running position is 10, which, again, it's not going to change because he only has 6 races here, so the numbers won't change. But overall, they're very, very good. I don't see why Eric Jones can't hang in the top 10 and even contend for a top 5. And he's 7K, guys, so I'd rather play him over MDB, but MDB's fine in tournaments. But Eric Jones, if you don't play him in cash, too, I don't hate that. I know the PD upside's not that great, but he's got legit top 5 upside with the potential to get up front at some point. He's just been that good at Bristol, so do have some interest in Jones. I know Toyotas have been struggling this season, but if you're just looking at track history at Bristol, I mean, Jones is going to check all your boxes at 7K. Going down to the 6K tier, and Ryan Newman at 6,800. He's kind of like Eric Jones. I think he's mispriced. His numbers are very good at Bristol the past 6 races, averaging 42 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 10.3, average running position of 12.5. He's got 6 top 15s the past 6 races here, guys. That's a 100% success rate to move up from this qualifying spot. Now, yes, he could get into a wreck, lose a tire, whatever, but just going off of history, Ryan Newman's been very solid. I don't know why he's 6,800. He should probably be around 7,500 like he was last race. So I know the PD upside's not amazing starting 17th, but just looking at history, he's got 6 top 15s the past 6 races here with 2 top 10s. So I think Ryan Newman's a pretty solid play. He's averaging 7.2 place differential spots per race. 6,800 is just a mispricing, so I'm going to have a lot of interest in Ryan Newman this week. Eric Almirola, 6,700, starting second. This has not been a good track for Almirola. He did wreck the one race, which will kill his averages a little bit, but still overall, he's got an average finish of 27, average rank position of 24.3, and that's with getting a top 10 too. So this has not been a great track for Almirola, averaging negative 13 place differential spots per race. Do you really think Almirola is going to lead laps over the guys like Keselowski, Blaney, and Joey Logano up front? I don't. So I really see no reason to play Almirola. If he gets out front lead laps early and stays in the top 10, I guess I'll just take that loss that day. But I just don't see it happening, guys. I really don't plan on playing any Almirola, even though he has been fast this season. He's just surrounded by too many better cars than him. Daniel Suarez, 6,500, starting 37th. If you look at his numbers at recent track history, you're thinking this is probably the easiest play on the board. But just know, he's now in a lawnmower, and I just got to keep saying that because people like the lawnmower joke. So, Daniel Suarez is in a much worse car than he used to be if you're looking at these numbers. He was in Stewart Haas equipment. He was in Cole Custer's car. It's much better equipment than what he is in now in the 96 car. He's basically driving a John Deere out there. He is extremely, extremely slow. But it was a good track for him. He had 6 top 20s the past 6 races, but this is much different circumstances. If we just look at current momentum this season, this paints a much better picture of what his car is actually capable of performing. So he's got an average running position of 27.2, average finish of 26, average drive rating of 45.7, which is nearly as bad as Brennan Poole and J.J. Yaley, which is awful to say. So Suarez is in a terrible car. The thing is, he's going to move up some spots starting 37th. If he gets a top 30, top 25, it would not surprise me. So the PD upside's there. I'd rather play Ryan Newman for 300 more because he's got the much better finishing position upside. But Suarez starting 37th, it's not the worst pump play in the world at a fair price at 6,500. So it's not too bad, guys. I know it's never fun playing Suarez, but if you're going to throw him in there, you can do it. Just don't expect too much fireworks out of him. Austin Dillon, he actually made the optimal last race, and he even lost a spot in place differential, but he had a pretty good race. And starting 20th, it's not terrible, but this hasn't been the greatest track due to him. I believe he got into trouble the one race, which is going to kill his averages a little bit. But he does have 3 top 15s, but I just hate trusting Austin Dillon. But when you're 6,300, I'm willing to look past it, so I actually think he's a decent play starting 20th. Again, the numbers aren't going to look too great. Average rank position of 19.8, average finish of 21.3. But he does have 3 top 15s and 4 top 20s, so I like his chances to move up. He probably is going to finish anywhere from 15th to 20th, which I know is not exciting, but he's 6,300 and he's got some decent finishing position potential, so I don't hate it. I know it's never fun playing Austin Dillon. I don't even like the guy, but this season, average rank position of 16.7, has a top 10, average finish of 18. He's okay. 6,300 is not a bad price tag. Ty Dillon, he comes in at 6,100, starting 29th, and you guys know Ty Dillon's probably my favorite cheap pump play every single week, and I wouldn't say he's my absolute favorite this week, but he's up there for sure. I think Ryan Preece is solid, Chris Buescher is definitely solid, Corey LaJoie, and even starting a little bit too high, but there's some really good cheap options, which I think is going to make getting dominators in pretty easy. But yeah, Ty Dillon 6,100. I actually played him the one year, I think it was last year in the spring race, and he was in the optimal, and he won me first place. So again, that's kind of why I like Ty Dillon so much. But starting 29th, he's got upside here. He's got an average running position of 23.1, average finish of 22.5. He's got 2 top 20s. Current momentum this season, he's got an average finish of 21.2, average running position of 23.4, 3 top 20s. Numbers aren't too bad for Ty Dillon. He's 6,100. He's gonna move up some spots as long as he stays out of trouble, and he's got top 20 potential. So Ty Dillon, he's fine. I'm not expecting too much, but I think he's a very solid play at this price tag. Ryan Preece, he's 6K. I expect him to be pretty high owned for where he's starting. Starting 33rd. He's got an average finish of 21.5 here at Bristol. Average running position of 25 is not great, but he does have a top 20. Again, we don't have a big sample size here, but if you look at his current momentum this season, he's got an average finish of 24.8, average running position of 22.8, does have a top 20. It's not terrible, guys. So Ryan Preece starting 33rd. He's going to move up. He's going to pass some of these slow cars, so Preece is fine. And not expecting too much, but him and Dillon are probably our safest bets for positive PD in this price range. Chris Buescher, he is really, really cheap. Remember when he was 8,100 that slate? Well, now he's 5,800, starting 19th. Now, I really don't think he's going to move up much, but He does have an average running position of 22.6. Average finish of 26.7 is not great, but if he can hang around the top 20, starting 19th, I don't hate it. In the one race, he was actually running really, really well. He was high owned. I think he was near the top 10 if I remember correctly. I mean, I might be wrong here, but just going off my memory here watching this race, I think he was doing really well. But then he had a tire go down late, and then it killed his day because then he was outside the top 20. So those numbers can be a little bit skewed if I'm remembering this correctly, which I think I am. But he does have 2 top 20s here. He's really cheap, and he's got the best finishing potential of anyone in this tier. So I don't mind taking some shots at Chris Buescher. He's a tough guy to trust sometimes, but I like the price tag a lot. So Chris Buescher is on my radar for sure. Corey LaJoie starting 32nd. Probably going to be a popular-ish pump place at 5,700 starting 32nd, and he was really fast last night. He was 16th in green flag average speed. If I remember correctly, he was pretty fast. He was faster than Truex, but not the greatest track. 28.9 average running position, average finish of 28.2, but he should move up some spots. But Chris Buescher, I mean, he's got that top 20 potential. Corey LaJoie's really only got top 30, top 25 potential, but it's not too bad. Current momentum this season, he's got an average finish of 25. Average running position of 25.2, does have a top 20. It's fine. Nothing too exciting, but LaJoie, Buescher, Priest, Ty Dillon, Austin Dillon, Suarez, this is where you're looking for decent pump plays to fit in your Keselowskis, Bowmans, Blaney's, even Kyle Busch's, Joey Logano's. Cole Custer's okay. Now we have no track history at Bristol in the Cup Series, but let's just look at momentum. So this season, he's got an average finish of 18.6, average running position of 20.1, top 10, 2 top 15s. Nothing spectacular, but I do think he's going to move up some spots. He's at really cheap price point. He's in good equipment. He's in what Daniel Suarez was in the past 6 races, and if you looked at Suarez's numbers, they're pretty good. So Cole Custer's got an outside shot of getting a top 15, and he's only 5,600, so it's really not that bad starting 22nd. So he's fine. You can sprinkle him in with guys like Buescher. I don't know, Corey LaJoie or Cole Custer, if you were to ask me that question, I guess I'd go with Custer because he's got the top 15 potential. But it's just tough trusting rookies. But I like the price tag a lot with Custer. Nemechek, the guy's been The guy's been running really, really well so far this season, definitely outdriving his equipment. Starting 18th, not much room for upside. It's always tough to trust rookies. But this season, he's got an average finish of 19.8, average running position of 22.7 as a top 10, 2 top 15s. If you play Nemechek, you're kind of hoping he stays within that top 20, top 22. It's really not the worst thing in the world. So if you're going to sprinkle in Nemechek and hope he runs really well, it's not the worst thing in the world. Brennan Poole, he's starting 34th. I mean, pretty much after Nemechek, we're getting to the nitty-gritty here of guys that are really never that exciting to play. But Poole's fine. He's got an average running position of like 30 this season, I think. Yeah, average running position of 30.6, average finish of 32.8. He's going to move up a couple spots, but I'd rather play J.J. Yaley. I mean, Yaley's got an average finish here of 30. Yeah, 30. Average running position of 30.2. He's starting dead last and 40th. He can move up some spots. I mean, I think he's kind of a lock to move up some spots. I think he's going to pass McLeod. He's probably going to pass Timmy Hill. It's not terrible, guys. It's not terrible. So if you're going to use J.J. Yeley as a punt, because he's probably going to move a couple of spots, it's not the worst in the world. This season, he's got an average running position of 30.7, average finish of 30.8. So if we can get like 10 place differential spots out of J.J. Yeley at 5,300, we're not going to be complaining. So Yaley's fine. McLeod, never going to play McLeod. Never going to play Timmy Hill. Greg Golding, not really that interesting. Greg Golding. Michael McDowell's pretty cheap, I will say. He's starting 25th, 4,900. Michael McDowell's usually in that 5,500 and up tier. So you're getting some decent value on McDowell. It just hasn't really been a great track for him. He's got an average running position of 28.4, average finish of 31. If you look at his numbers this season, though, average running position of 22.6, average finish of 20. 4,900 is not a bad price tag. If McDowell can just stay where he is, or even if he loses a spot, it's not that bad at 4,900. So you can sprinkle in McDowell. I mean, he's definitely viable at 4,900 just because he's mispriced by about 600 to 700. So that's fine. But after that, I'm not going to play Smithley, not going to play Quinn, not going to play Gase, not going to play Curry. So as low as I'm willing to go is McDowell. But I think that's pretty much it for the driver by driver breakdown, and that's going to be the conclusion of this video. So if you made it all the way through, let me know. I know they're long videos, but you guys seem to enjoy them anyway, so I just love making them. I love talking NASCAR, so these videos run long, but hope you guys liked the video. If you did and you found it helpful, remember to leave a like. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. If you want to support me on Patreon, hit the links in the description below. That's pretty much going to be it. So see you guys in the next video. I'll be going live on Sunday at 11 a.m. I think. So yeah, I'll see you then.